Welcome back to Overstay Auto Reviews. Today I'm here at Dwayne Lane's Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram to review this brand new 2020 Dodge Charger RT Scat Pack Widebody. Let's break this car down and complete a review. Starting off in the front, since this is an RT Scat Pack, this has the Scat Pack logo over here. You might be wondering what a Scat Pack does offer above the RT. Since this is an RT Scat Pack, it gives us a much larger engine and a lot more horsepower. Along with that, we have about 5 vents, one of which are on the hood to provide cooling for the behemoth of an engine this vehicle does have. Along with that, we have a splitter down here, which has the shipping guard still on it. You are supposed to remove these once you take delivery of the vehicle. Along with that, since this vehicle does have the technology group, this gives us the radar for the adaptive cruise control. We also have our basic xenon lights, and the strip around that turns yellow when you do indicate or turn on your hazards. Now, underneath of the Scat Pack's hood, you will find the absolutely huge 6.4 liter naturally aspirated SRT powered V8 Hemi motor. This engine produces 485 horsepower and 475 foot-pounds of torque. This engine will get you to 60 in just 4.3 seconds with the aid of the rear-wheel drive drivetrain and 8-speed automatic transmission. Moving on to the wheels, here we have the 20 by 11 inch 305 millimeter width carbon black aluminum forged wheels. These specific black wheels do add $1,300 to the price of the vehicle. Along with the wide body package, we do get the 6-piston very large Brembo brakes. The calipers have been painted red, which is a $600 option. On the top of the tires, we also have this very definitive wide body arch, which does add 3 inches on each side to the overall width of the car. Over here we have the 392 Hemi badge, which is the actual size of the engine in cubic inches. Before, everyone used liters to tell which engine it is. They used to use cubic inches, and that is why there is this badge over here. Now, this is a Scat Pack wide body, which is a $6,000 option on top of the regular Scat Pack, which does give us 3 inches wider fenders on all 4 corners of the car. But that's not where it ends. In fact, we get 305 millimeter width tires in all 4 corners to allow us to put the power to the ground much quicker. Along with that, this car also has the wide body competition suspension. It is 27% stiffer in the front with the springs, and the rear gets a much larger rear sway bar. On top of that, we get 6-piston Brembo brakes, and in the interior you'll get a performance shifter and a wheel that is leather wrapped and flat bottomed. Now, this car does have a very large V8 underneath the hood, which means that fuel economy isn't really the best. This car gets 15 mpg in the city and 24 mpg on the freeway. What more can you expect from a car that's this fun? Now, one thing that did stand out to me in this general area was that right here it says 5 seconds, and that illustration is telling us to leave in the fuel pump nozzle in the tank for 5 seconds after we're done filling up. What happens if you take it out before 5 seconds? Now, at the rear we have the most definitive part of the Dodge Charger wide body Scat Pack. On the top we have this very nice carbon black lip spoiler, and we have the racetrack inspired rear taillights. We have a backup camera over here, the Scat Pack Super B over here, and a blacked out Charger badge over there. You will see 4 sensors, which are for the park sense, which allow you to park without hitting things. You really want to hit this car anywhere because, well, it's just so beautiful. On each side we have functional heat extractors for the tires, and you can see those very nice looking wide body fenders over there. On the lower portion we have just this plastic diffuser piece and the 4-inch active exhaust, which sound absolutely beautiful. One thing I really liked about this car is that there's no button or latch to open the trunk. In fact, after the E in the Dodge, over here you'll find a little button which you press, and it reveals the relatively large trunk. Now, when I did open the trunk of the Scat Pack, I found these mud flaps. They're in fact for the front fenders, and there's also an illustration on how to put them on. One thing I did notice is that this is not a Scat Pack, this is a Hellcat Widebody pictured over here, but there are very nice and helpful illustrations for if you do want to put them on. Now, when you do open the trunk, there's a little latch which does hook on to this external trim piece to make it steady. On the right side we have the battery, and behind that we have the fuse box. But one thing I really did like is the Millar tire inflator. It fits really nicely inside the trunk, and it's nice. I like that Millar put this in here. Now, since we are back here, I will try to conduct a trunk test without scratching the paint on this thing. So, this is a very high rear bumper. I fit myself in like this. There is a latch over here. I bring it down. And I fit perfectly in here. It is a bit too claustrophobic, but you're not going to carry anyone in the trunk, or at least I hope not. One thing to note in the trunk as well is that closing it is a two-step process. There is a latch over here. I have to pull it down. I have to use my other hand, put it on top, touch the paint, probably smudge it up a bit, and then close the trunk. Come on, just have a button there, Dodge. It makes life much easier. This vehicle does have a remote start. Here is the key. Looks like your average Dodge key. I press this button twice. There she starts. And press it twice to turn it off. Now, moving on to the rear seats of the Scat Pack Widebody, and I've got to say right off the bat, I noticed how stunningly beautiful these ruby red Alcantara with black leather seats are. On the door panels we do have red leather instead of black leather, with plastic on the lower panel which does mimic leather. On the door, most people don't actually notice, but this line right here actually mimics the body lines on the door of the Charger. I found that very, very nice. On the sides we have these window switches and our basic door openers, but I did notice that there's no lock or unlock switches on the rear doors. Rear seat room, it's okay. I am not overly comfortable back here. Foot room is not the best. Knee room about 3 to 4 inches, and headroom has definitely been compromised. I've got maybe 2 inches. Again, I'm 5'11", and this is set to my desired driving position. Amenities, again, we have 2 vents, 2 seat heaters, and 2 USB ports. On the center we have a very nice and large center armrest with 2 cup holders which are illuminated, and a nice tray to store stuff in out of sight. Overall, not too bad of a rear seat. Room could definitely be improved since this is the 4-door version of a performance vehicle. Another thing to notice about the car is these wide body fenders. When you do open the rear door, the fenders open with it, so it cuts in half. It's broken over here, now it's flush. And this is in fact a clear coat to protect the paint from anything you may hit. Now, this vehicle does have keyless entry. Here is the door handle, keys in my pocket. Slide in like this, opens right up, and you can see the absolutely beautiful interior. Alright, now on the driver's side, let's talk about this general area of the side. On the door panel, you will find the red leather with black leather as well. We have all our window and mirror and lock switches, along with our memory seat buttons as well. Let's talk about the seat maneuvering. It's not the best that I've seen in any car. The AMG that I reviewed last had definitely the best seat control that I've reviewed so far, but these seats move forward, backward, up, and down, and the backrest moves forward and backwards. Here we have our basic light controls along with the trunk button. On the lower portion you will find the hood opening latch. On the side we have large cubbies that do fit water bottles that will be relatively tall since there's some space between here and here. I did like the illustration that says to have no open drinks in the cup holders while the car is in motion. It's quite funny because no other car that I've been in has that. This vehicle also has the Alpine sound system, which I will demonstrate for you a bit later. Now here we are in the center where you can see all of the controls for the Scat Pack Widebody. The first thing that I noticed once setting foot in the interior was the 392 and the Super B badge on the passenger side dashboard. It looks nice, and it definitely tells you that you're in something larger and better than an RT. The Super B logo is also embroidered into the Alcantara seats with black and gray stitching. It's a nice attention to detail from Dodge. Now on the seats over here, you will see the advanced and adaptive cruise control along with the tech group, which I mentioned earlier. It does give us additional safety features along with the improved cruise control. Here is our gear selector. It's leather wrapped with metal on here, leather over here. You just stick it in, throw it down into drive when you need to, and then you can also shift up and down once you put it into drive. This car is not started, but in fact I can do that right now. Everyone looks at you when you start this car. You push in the button, drive, click it left. It's in manual, shift down, shift down, shift up, and it tells you your gears right there. I'll put this thing back into park. Now, since this is the Scat Pack Widebody, we do get the SRT drive mode controls, if I can find those here. SRT dashboard, and it gives us all of our adjustable drive modes. If you come into custom, you can see the transmission, the paddle shifters located over here, which are controlled by the steering wheel as well, give us all of these different options. Right here, the launch control is set to 1,500 RPMs. I can raise that. The max is 3,300, and the minimum is 1,200. We also have active line lock, which is for when we do want to do a burnout or we're at the drag strip and we don't want to move right and left. It allows us to go straight. Now perf pages, we shall wait for those. A bit slow. Now it tells us how much horsepower we are currently using, fluctuating between 1 and 0. We have our current gear. We have a G meter as well. We have a timer for our lap times, our reaction time, all of these different features we can measure, and it definitely tells you all the stuff you can do, how much stuff you can change, and you also have a dyno which tells you how much power you used. Now controls, we have the vented and heating steering wheel as well. It's a very nice feature for cold and warm climates. We also have the mirror dimmer, which can be useful when it's a bit sunny outside. You can also turn the screen off. These seats are both ventilated and heated, which is nice as well. Climate control system, it's more advanced, but we also have a tactile one over here. We also have our mirror defrosters, which do come in handy in the colder climates. We also have the volume knobs, which I will demonstrate for you with the speakers a bit later. Here we have the launch button, which we don't want to use right now since there are multiple cars parked in front of me. This vehicle does also have a Bluetooth system, which is over here. Really simple, really easy to use. We go into settings, we can see all of our different things. We can see our display, and there's lots of things that you can change. For example, the lights have all these functions. It's definitely something that you can play with, and one thing I do like a lot about Dodge is that they've made their UI very, very easy and simple to use. That's what I like about Dodge. It's nothing like those higher brand cars that do have immensely complicated infotainment systems that just make it absolutely confusing to use. Yes, you do need to get a bit used to the SRT dashboard, but you can get used to it once you do start playing around. Now, once you do put it in track mode, it turns everything off, and it also turns the electronic stability control off. That is pretty much it with the infotainment system. On the center, we have a relatively large platform, maybe for a smaller phone, and a 12-volt charging port. On the center, we have a mini thing. You could probably put your keys on here. In the center, we have a tray, which is closable, and it has two cup holders inside. And here we have the center armrest It is nice, it's large, there's another 12-volt charger in here, and a smaller platform. You could probably fit your wallet or a phone in there as well. The cubby is relatively deep, and that's what I like. One thing that I didn't like is that it's a bit flimsy, but maybe Dodge can fix this. Overall, this vehicle does have a leather-wrapped dashboard and a power sunroof. I really like the interior of this car, and I've got to say, for the price you're going to pay, very, very well made. Driving the 2020 Charger Scat Pack Widebody on an on-ramp for a mild acceleration. That was just an acceleration to match speed. There's no hesitation from the 6.4 liter engine. The auto response, I've got to say, is very, very sensitive. I was trying to maneuver this thing in the parking lot, and the slightest touch of the throttle pedal makes the car move forward quite a bit. This car does move, and there's no feeling of it being sluggish whatsoever. Now, in the higher gears with a lower engine noise, the ride is actually quite enjoyable. The comfy seats do go well with the harsher suspension. You don't notice it that much, but when you do drive over bumps, you do feel the stiffer shocks and sway bars. The wind and tire noise really aren't that bad. You'd be expecting a lot more from a bigger, wider car with much wider tires as well, but that's not the case for this car. In the end, it's a very nice and fun car. Now, the only American-made car with a similar price would be the 2020 Cadillac CT5V Sport. If you are considering either one of these cars, keep in mind that the Cadillac has about 120 less horsepower. Both cars do have a very similar base price, but when you do think about it, the Cadillac will have less incentives because it is a luxury-oriented brand. In my opinion, the Cadillac does look more modern, but it's not as muscular or aggressive as the Dodge. It's a good competitor, but I'm pretty sure you'd be better off with the Dodge in the long run. So that is the complete review of the 2020 Dodge Charger Scat Pack Widebody. This vehicle had an original base MSRP of around $40,000. This car has been stacked out to around $58,000. Currently there is a rebate running which will get you this car for just around $52,000. Keep in mind that is before a trade-in. In the end, I believe that this car is absolutely phenomenal for the value you are paying for it. You're getting 485 horsepower and a car that just looks stunning. I've got to say, if you can afford this car, you should definitely buy it. That is all for today. Thank you all for watching, and remember to keep on driving.